from Luke chapter 18, verses 1 to 23. We'll start with verse 1. Then he spoke a parable to them, that men always ought to pray and not lose heart, saying, There was in a certain city a judge who did not fear God, nor regard man. Now there was a widow in that city, and she came to him, saying, Get justice for me from my adversary. But he would not for a while. But afterwards he said within himself, Though I do not fear God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. Then the Lord said, Hear what the unjust judge said. And shall God not avenge his own elect, who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he really find faith on the earth? Also he spoke this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the tax collector, standing afar off, would not so much as raise his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man will come to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Then they also brought infants to him, that he might touch them. But when the disciples saw it, they rebuked them. But Jesus called them to him and said, Let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of God. Assuredly I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God as a little child will by no means enter it. Now a certain ruler asked him, saying, Good teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? So Jesus said to him, Why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that is God. You know the commandments. Do not commit adultery. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Honour your father and your mother. And he said, All these things I have kept from my youth. So when Jesus heard these things, he said to him, You still lack one thing. Sell all that you have and distribute to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. But when he heard this, he became very sorrowful, for he was very rich.
We looked at mercy and truth and found that they were words that tie together, especially in the Old Testament, that they were words that, it says, mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. But they're true bedfellows in regard that they are often quoted together. And mercy, an up-to-date way of looking at mercy would be kindness. It's a lovely way of looking at it. Or loving kindness. And the truth is not an intellectual truth, it's a statement of loyalty, of steadfastness, of faithfulness, of fidelity to a promise. And so we looked at those things and how they affect the Christian and what we're to do. And this morning I just wished I had better words to bring out mercy, because it was so rich. Just thinking of it, and there's been a few times in the week where I've just sat and thought how great mercy is, how wonderful it is. And I thought I'd carry along the same theme tonight, taking the Luke chapter 18 that Anita has kindly read for us. We'll go through a little bit further to the end of the chapter as well, just to look at some instances of mercy. And we'll see where that takes us. This mercy of God, we're told that there's an abundant supply. God is abundant in mercy, in goodness. We're told, the psalmist says, that his mercy is plenteous. is plentiful. 1 Peter says that his mercy is abundant. We're told that his mercy fills the whole earth. But then it goes even further. When it fills all the earth, the psalmist says the mercy of the Lord is above the heavens. So the whole of creation is filled with his mercy. We're told of so many lovely little things regarding mercy. We're told of it not only its quantity, but of its quality. That God is rich in mercy. He's of great mercy. And all these different things that we can look at and consider. By his mercy, or of his mercy, the psalmist sings. By his mercy, the psalmist is able to get up when he slips. And through his mercy, he's able to pray. And so mercy has such a vital part to play, especially in the Old Testament terms. Because once there are evidences of grace in the Old Testament, it would be silly to say that grace is not present in the Old Testament. It's grace that really comes to the fore in the New Testament. We need mercy. That's why it's there. But grace, we don't deserve it. And that's why that's there. We need mercy, and grace itself is there because we don't deserve grace. Let's have a little look at this first one then. The first one that Nita read out, it talks of the widow and the unjust judge. Even without someone to stand and put forward a case, the unjust judge was persuaded by the woman. She wore him down. She wore him down. Now, the point that Jesus is making is if a widow can wear down an unjust judge, what of God then? Of whom it is written, I will hear the cry of the widow. You see, there's no wearing down of God with the widow. She had no one to present her, no one to protect her. When you go through the Old Testament statutes that Moses was given to the children of Israel, there were certain groups of people that the Lord was very concerned about, and one of them was the widow. He was very conscious of that, on how the widow was treated. He was very conscious on how the fatherless would be treated. He was very conscious of how the deaf would be treated. And he was very conscious of how the blind would be treated. He was very conscious of how the stranger would be treated. And here we find that he would hear the cry of the widow. Now, if the widow can turn the ear of an unjust judge, what Jesus is saying, what can she do with a God that will hear her cry? His mercy is towards her. And so we find in that simple term here that his mercy is far greater than the woman's cry. She should but cry, and he will turn. And so we just move on to the next one. In verse 9 to 14, we are told this of the tax collector and the Pharisee. Both went up to the temple to pray. And as they prayed, mercy was there. The presence of God, in the way Jesus tells of this occasion, it is quite evident that in the parable, the presence of God that Jesus speaks of is there in the temple court. It's there. But isn't it amazing how people respond? You see, the Pharisee stuck his chin up in the air. I've often said to people as I've met, don't forget, keep your chin down. If you stick it up, someone will hit it. But the Pharisee got his nose up in the air. And he was busily parading all his qualifications and his goodnesses, his righteousnesses, and his comparisons to the man that was standing before him and to others as well. He was not aware that the mercy of God was there. He was not aware that he needed the mercy of God. He was completely only concerned with himself and the advantages that he possessed in comparison to the man that was standing next to him. But the tax collector, notice what happens. He bows his head. You see, God was there. Mercy was there. It's a lovely little phrase in the Old Testament when it says concerning the presence of God that they bowed their heads. I find it fascinating what people do when the presence of God comes down. He bowed his head. Why? Because when it says of his presence or his glory coming down, it means this. His weight came down and they bowed. I remember a long, long time ago now, a beautiful, beautiful meeting we were in. Some were responding, and I watched in the meeting, one girl got up and walked out. I don't think she's ever recovered from it. I don't think she's ever recovered from it yet. She got up and walked out. There were others there that were responding. And yet this one got up and walked out. And from that day forward, it has seemed to have been a turning point in her life. May God give her another turning point. May God give her. You see, it is but one little instance in her life. And yet that one little instance can be such a major turning point. Others had their heads bowed, but she got up and walked out. And the door slammed as she went through the door. You see, the Pharisee paraded himself and sang his praises. But the tax collector bowed his head and said, God be merciful to me, a sinner. He bowed his head. Why? Mercy was there. Mercy there was great, and grace was free. Pardon there was multiplied to me. There my burdened heart found victory at Calvary. What a wonderful thing it is that you can taste the mercy of God. It was there for him, it was there for the Pharisee, but only one responded to it. Then we have the next one in verses 15 to 17. Now, Reese, Mason, Naomi, Joseph, and anyone who is feeling young. It's the story of Jesus and the little children. Now, I know Naomi especially, and I know Joseph especially, are not little children, and I'd have to say that Reese and Mason are not little children, but you'll do for today. The disciples, when they saw them, rebuked them. They were thinking that there was something better to be done, something more important to be done. But Jesus turned and said to them, let the little children come to me. You see, in Christianity, there is no ageism. Now, I know that there is a modern trend to target young people and get them into church, and I fully understand that. But you don't find that in the book of Acts. They preached to all and sundry. They reached out to young, they reached out to old. You will find some church that have very professional members, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I find that the Church of God in the book of Acts is made up of men that went to university and men who were jailers. We have a businesswoman named Lydia, who is a businesswoman in a man's world. She must have been some woman to have been able to hold herself and get her business up and running. And yet her co-member was a jailer, a Roman centurion he would have been, that had now retired and was now a jailer. His background would have been completely different to hers, and yet that's how the Church of God came together. And so we find in these instances, his mercy is not limited to age. And so for Reese, and for Mason, for Naomi, for Joseph, and for anyone else who considers themselves to feel young inside, there's room for you. There's mercy there, specifically for the little children. In fact, one of the other gospel writers says this, and Jesus blessed them. Now I wonder what that means. Does that mean that they were blessed because they were poor of spirit? That they were blessed that they had mourned? They were blessed that they were meek? They were blessed in that they were hungry and thirsting for righteousness? They were blessed because they were merciful? They were blessed because they were pure in heart? They were blessed because they were suffering for the sake of righteousness? I don't know. All we know is that God blessed them. Sat him on his knee. And God blessed them. So in mercy, he reaches out to the Pharisee. It might not be accepted, but it still reaches out to him. It reaches out to the tax collector, and he responds. It reaches out to a widow who has no one to defend her. It reaches out to the young children who so often are put to the side, thinking that they have no place. But they have a place. They have a place in the work of God. An essential place as much as the oldest person in this room. You see, there's no ageism in God. There's no ageism in golf. You can go to a golf course, and you'll have a man who's in his 60s or 70s playing golf with a 12 or 13-year-old. There's no ageism there. Because it's got that type of ability as a game to bring people of different backgrounds, different ages, bring them together. How much more then with God? That he's able to bring a widow, he's able to bring a tax collector, he's able to bring a little child and bless them. Then we have the next batch of verses. Verses 18 to 30. It's the saddest one, I think, in many respects. The young rich ruler. Three things, I suppose, generally that society would seek for. We all like to be young. My mother-in-law was there today. She loves Colombo. We've got to turn the TV up to 45, 50, even though the urinator is not there and all the different things. Up to 45, 50 and Colombo and all the different things that are there. And one of the episodes today was where they rubbed a little bit of cream and the wrinkles disappeared. And she murdered the creator of this cream. We love to stay young. I've viewed so many inside. I don't look 25, but inside I feel 25. And in many respects, because of the way society is today, we want to be rich. And there are many a heart who would look for the point that you would love to have power, to be a ruler. Three things that society seeks for today. He had everything, and mercy was reaching out to him. It says this concerning Jesus in Mark's account of this meeting between the young rich ruler and the Lord himself. And it says this, Jesus looked at him and loved him. But he walked away. Jesus looked at him and loved him. But he walked away. Sorrowful of heart. You see, mercy can be there. The eye of Christ could be there. The love of God could be there. But this mercy can be spurned. Now there are those that speak, that say that this is possibly God. Whether it is, I don't really know. But certainly, the young rich ruler was someone who had an opportunity to taste of the mercy of God, but turned away. Even though Christ was looking at him, he loved him dearly. The final verses that we look at are verses 35 to the end, to 43. And it's the account of the blind beggar. The blind beggar. He didn't have a friend. He didn't even have a name. He was called Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus. Many a person hide behind their parents' name. It's always their parent that's known. Oh, that's so-and-so's son. Oh, that's so-and-so's daughter. He was like this, but this man was blind. that he was a beggar. He was in a city that had been cursed by God, Jericho. But the mercy of God was there. He was in a city cursed, but the mercy of God was there. Are you in a place where perhaps you're not in the right place, but the mercy of God can still reach you? Where you are, it reaches out to you. He was not only a place where God's curse resided, he was also told to shut up. But the mercy of God was there. The mercy of God was there. Because the mercy of God was there, Jesus stood still. Everybody else was pushing him on. Again, this dictate. Leave the kids alone. Leave the beggar alone. Leave the widow alone. Leave the tax collector alone. You've got more important issues to solve and resolve. But the mercy of God was there and was able to draw them in. And this man, he cried out, Son of David, have mercy upon me. In a city that was cursed, amongst a people who didn't like him, he didn't even have a name. He was the son of Timaeus. He was blind. He didn't even see him. But the mercy of God was there. You see, the mercy of God answers the cry. The mercy of God forgives sins. The mercy of God blesses children. The mercy of God heals the blind and saves the soul. While everybody else is making a fuss, the mercy of God continues as a mighty stream. He cried out the more. Shut up, they said. Be quiet. But he cried out the more. And Jesus stood still. I've often wondered if there were a few twisted noses after that, almost a buffer reaction where people were coming up behind him. He just simply stood still. And the mercy of God reached blind Bartimaeus, healed him, made him whole, and set him free. Hallelujah. In a city that was cursed. What a marvelous thing this mercy is. It's so deep, it's so wide, it's so high, it's so far. This mercy is a mercy that you can put your trust in, that you can be blessed by and brought into such a living relationship with Christ. Well, that's all for tonight. We'll call it a day at that point.